going on, guys? TG or ThunderGod here, doing another pretty interesting video. Today I'm going to be taking each Akatsuki member, putting them in Pain's place against Six Tails Naruto, and seeing if they'd be able to take down, suppress the Nine Tails, or just stop Naruto from advancing like Pain did in his fight with Six Tails Naruto. This Naruto is interesting. There's a lot of chatter about him. I just really wanted to discuss it. So, win condition for the Akatsuki members, they can't kill Naruto, but they either have to just straight up defeat the Six Tails or just stop his evolution somehow, again, leading to its defeat. That being said, like, subscribe if you're new here. I don't want to waste too much time on this intro. Let's get into the video. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out to Flexispot for sponsoring this video. Flexispot has come through today to upgrade my setup to provide you guys the best content possible. Flexispot provides the highest quality desks out there and really stands apart compared to what's out there right now. As you can see, Flexispot provides a wide and firm surface, making it so you have space for pretty much anything you can think of. Flexispot offers near limitless customization for your office needs with pretty much any color or desk size you can imagine. I mean, they even have bamboo. How cool is that? Not to mention a galore of colors, so you really can just find the perfect desk for you. What makes Flexispot different than other desks, you might ask? Aside from the ridiculously high quality, it comes with a control panel. Yes, a control panel, including 2 USB ports and 1 USB-C port, making it so you can charge your phone and other devices. On top of this, the panel has arrow keys that allow you to adjust your desk to any height. No, seriously, look at this. You can adjust the desk to any height that you would require, even in making it so you can transition into a standing desk. Something that could be great if you're tied to your computer all day, like me, and want to change things up. Flexispot also went ahead and sent me their neon lights, which, on top of being customizable to form any structure, look absolutely amazing in the dark and have a variety of different colors and modes to suit any setup that you might have. Click the link in the bio and get your desk now. Six Tails Naruto is very difficult to pinpoint in terms of strength, especially depending on what media of Naruto you consume, but there's a few things we can confirm as absolute for Six Tails Naruto. He's stronger than Four Tails Naruto. Yeah, no shit. Sharing and improving upon a lot of advantages the Four Tails hide provided Naruto, such as its extreme durability, even resisting the grass longsword that was going to damage Enma. Enma is vague in terms of strength, however, there is a bit of lore implication to apply, like he's somewhat relative to Hiruzen himself. They're more so seen as battle partners rather than just simply a summon. We also see Enma in a more prime state directly push out the Nine Tails. So, you know, even though this isn't absolute, again, maybe you could make some lore assertions off Hiruzen, it's just a pretty good showing in terms of Naruto's durability with the hide. And the Six Tails actually improves upon this. You can maybe say it's arguably more durable. There's no real metric to say that. Maybe you could argue it since Naruto has more of the Nine Tails chakra in this state. But where the Six Tails actually has an advantage over the Four Tails is that it's not restricted via the Tail Beast Bomb. Because if you recall, Naruto in the Four Tails state could only really use the Tail Beast Bomb after eating it and firing directly at Orochimaru. There's also, by the way, side point, big misconception on Four Tails Naruto. People say he's immobile, but he's only really stated to be immobile when he just puts all that dense chakra into his mouth. There's also an underrated regen feat for Naruto, unironically. Nobody brings this up because the inside of his body is actually like exploding, you know? Like all his internal organs are just nuked out and then he shoots the Tail Beast Bomb out. So, you know, good regen stuff for Naruto there. But the Six Tails just doesn't have this issue. It's able to shoot its Tail Beast Bomb very freely, doesn't need to inhale it or anything like that, which is a big plus in a combat scenario. Now, in the manga version of Naruto vs. Pain, the Six Tails appears after Hinata gets hit with Pain's rod. She wishes it was Naruto's, but unfortunately it just wasn't the case at the time. Invoking the Sealing Jutsu utilizing Hashirama's chakra, which the Six Tails just blatantly overpowers at this point in the series. Which again is pretty crazy that like a portion of Hashirama's chakra was still able to like momentarily hold down the Six Tails even long after his death. Just absolutely nutty stuff for the Hashirama side of things. Naruto starts off by launching himself at Pain. He's not so fast that he just straight up perception blitzes Pain or anything like that, but more importantly, he shows remarkable strength actually ingraining or, you know, kind of like shooting his tails into the ground to avoid getting blown back by Almighty Push. And the Six Tails actually takes it a step further, as while he's getting pushed back and his tails are into the ground, the minute Pain's jutsu subsides, he uses the recoil of this attack to launch Pain. And for those like who don't understand the recoil point, Naruto's stationary, so he's obviously having this force exerted on him, but he's not moving. So the minute the jutsu stopped applying pressure, all that force has to go somewhere, and then Naruto instantly snaps back and pushes Pain back. So Naruto then charges a Tail Beast Bomb, only at Pain, Bancho tending a rock onto Naruto, which causes the ball to hit the ground, blowing up the nearby area. What's fascinating is that this is the first time the Diva Path has shown any signs of damage after being in the vicinity of this attack, which is really just a testament to Pain. But what's also interesting is that Six Tails Naruto is completely fine, which again is a testament to the version 2 hide of Jinchuriki being absurdly strong in how they offer a cloak of immense durability. So we kind of have a bit of a one-to-one in terms of like what Naruto's cloak is capable of absorbing damage-wise. After being exposed to this, Pain retreats, forming the Chibaku Tensei and launching the jutsu. The technique takes effect, and while Naruto is getting pulled in, he tries to launch a Biju Bomb at the sphere, but this doesn't work. Now, I will say, it seems that this Naruto can kind of do, you know, variations of the Tail Beast Bomb, versions where he charges it up, and other versions where he kind of rapid fires it. So I don't think this is necessarily the full charged up version, but it does show some like upper limits for this Naruto's Tail Beast Bomb, which, I mean, most characters wouldn't have been able to destroy this Chibaku Tensei anyway, but still. Before I talk about the, you know, what this means for Six Tails Naruto, I also want to talk about the anime version of Six Tails Naruto versus Pain, which is far longer and adds a lot to what we can infer for both these characters. The fight starts off with a bit of Four Tails Naruto versus Pain, with the Four Tails physical blows actually doing no real damage to the Diva Path, with him attempting to crush Pain with tons of rocks. Pain emerges with no real damage, once again talking that hot to Naruto, provoking his anger, causing Naruto to emerge with the Six Tails. The fight starts with Pain dashing across water to avoid Naruto's tails and arm grab attacks. Nothing really crazy here until Pain slides into a sniper position. We gotta pause the video. Bro is prone, blocking Tail Beast Bombs and provoking Naruto. Like, is that all he's got? There is no scope in his hand. There is no reason he had to do shit this cool, yet Pain did decide to pull up prone like a sniper. I don't know why. It was just always cool to me that he did that. But yeah, Naruto continues his assault with mass Biju Bombs, which Pain also remarks as not bad. He uses Shinra Tensei to drop a giant rock on Naruto, causing Naruto to, you know, be restricted via branches underground, with the Six Tails lighting it on fire with his fire breath. He just has fire breath in this version. So does Naruto when he goes into like the Eight Tails. This is also where Hashirama's chakra responds to Naruto in an attempt to seal the Nine Tails chakra. However, in both versions, this clearly doesn't work on Naruto, breaking the seal in both. The fight progresses version, no significant damage. Naruto begins charging a Tail Beast Bomb, and instead of Pain slapping Naruto with a rock and the technique hitting the ground, Pain drops a ton of rock on Naruto, causing the technique to disrupt. In the manga, it's more so that he just like slapped Naruto's face via polar attraction. In this version, he straight up just dropped the rock. Again, in this version, Six Tails Naruto comes out unscathed, and we actually do see when we cut back to the fight, Pain is damaged. This is also the turning point in both versions, which caused Pain to retreat to form the Chibaku Tensei. In this version, Pain actually being able to escape Naruto and use the technique while hiding in a tree, whereas in the manga, he is using it while still being relatively close to Naruto. Pain's jutsu takes effect and pulls rocks onto Naruto to distract him momentarily, with Naruto shooting a Tail Beast Bomb out of the rock, and Pain blocking it with a Rinnegan Rod. Granted, this is a smaller, more concise variation of the technique, so I wouldn't say it scales to anything remotely close to its larger variants, but still very impressive. The Six Tails also tries shooting Pain to deter the technique, but Pain defends himself with Naruto turning his attention towards the giant rock formation, shooting a barrage of Biju Bombs as opposed to one in the manga, which causes Nagato to strain with Naruto getting captured. The anime definitely portrays the Chibaku Tensei as being more of a trial, as Naruto is a lot more proactive, constantly trying to shoot down Pain and the structure, causing great strain on Nagato, whereas in the anime, he just has a bit of a one and done when launching the Chibaku Tensei. Both versions portray Six Tails Naruto having an edge on this fatigued version of the Diva Path. The anime just shows Pain kind of trying his luck against Six Tails Naruto, with both the manga and anime having a turning point where the Diva Path or Nagato see that Almighty Push has no effect on Naruto and he can resist it. Six Tails Naruto is an opponent that Diva Path cannot simply overpower via his ninjutsu, whereas he's being constantly chased and gunned down, even pressing Nagato during the Chibaku Tensei portion of the fight, whereas the manga again makes it seem like Pain understands the gravity of Naruto's strength much earlier, whereas in the anime, Pain kind of tries his luck more, tries to actually defeat Naruto in some other ways, testing his abilities. The anime does make Naruto more impressive, but the absolute here is that both versions share the common that once Six Tails Naruto resists Almighty Push, Pain realizes this is not an opponent he can defeat without Chibaku Tensei. Does this mean Six Tails Naruto is stronger than Pain? In terms of this fatigue Diva Path, I would say yes, aside from Chibaku Tensei, as the Diva Path's ninjutsu essentially has no effect on Naruto. So, you know, stronger than this Pain, and maybe you can argue against the other passive Pain if they were present, but just not strong enough to just simply override Chibaku Tensei. You could make the inference, however, that this Six Tails Naruto that fought Pain would be stronger than Sage Mode Naruto at that present moment. There's also been the idea brought forth that Six Tails Naruto may actually be stronger than QB Naruto. When I say QB Naruto, I'm talking about Naruto right when he obtains the Nine Tails chakra. This is off of a couple things. For starters, people make the comparison that Naruto actually rips away 6 tails of the Nine Tails chakra. This just isn't true. The panel people use is contradicted quite literally by the following panel, which shows more tails. The anime also supplements this by showing just 8 tails on screen. The 9th is like tangled up, and some people argue if it's just 8 tails in general, but that would make no sense. It just seems to be 9, especially since in the manga it's also 9. This doesn't matter though. There's no judge for this because A, we know it's not all of the Kyuubi's chakra, as the 9 tail still has tons of reserves left, even like showcased inside of Naruto's psyche where he charges up a large-scale tail beast bomb, but also displayed when Naruto links up with Kurama and the vast difference between that form and KCM2. On top of this, we do know that Naruto doesn't hold all 9 tails worth of chakra. He just extracted a small portion from Kurama's own chakra pool, which is verbatim stated to actually have a limit on terms of how much chakra Naruto could actually pull. So to make some comparison and say, oh, because 6 tails here equals 6 tails there, that just doesn't work for a multitude of reasons. The chakra amounts can't be like quantified or compared in any which way, especially since right after this Naruto has to go through a bit of chakra control training. It's not exactly chakra control training, but he just has to learn how to utilize his like 9 tails form more accurately via building blocks and whatnot. Another comparison that people use is the Bijou Bomb example between Kyuubi Naruto and 6 Tails Naruto, and how 6 Tails Naruto is just able to do the Tail Beast Bomb and Kyuubi Naruto can't. The problem with this is that fundamentally, the Tail Beast Bomb is much easier to use in Bijou state rather than human form. And Naruto can form the technique, he just can't utilize it accurately. And it does take all of his chakra to use, as every time he does use it, his cloak dissipates. And I believe he even states verbatim that he used up all his chakra, even attempting the technique before during the cave with Killer B. So again, the Tail Beast Bomb side of the argument is not concrete either. It really isn't objective. The main thing I would say when comparing Kyuubi Naruto and 6 Tails Naruto is that Naruto in the Kyuubi state does think the Tail Beast Bomb, even in the mini stage that he tries to perform, is still stronger than the Rasen Shuriken, which failed to take down the Raikage, as when it does fail to take him down in like one complete shot, as it done to pretty much every fighter he hit with it prior, he's like, I need a stronger jutsu, which is the Tail Beast Bomb. So maybe you can apply something there in terms of this 6 Tails Naruto potentially having a more powerful technique than maybe some of this Kyuubi Naruto's via the Tail Beast Bomb. However, again, this is somewhat of a flawed argument, because if you go off that logic, you could also maybe say that applies to 4 Tails Naruto, which again isn't as strong as the 6 Tails. So it's a little bit muddy, I have to admit. Quite honestly, discussing 6 Tails Naruto versus like a fresh Kyuubi Naruto is kind of its own video topic. It is very nuanced discussion. There's really no hard evidence to say which is objectively stronger. Maybe you interpret some of B's feats or just some of the statements surrounding the version 2 cloak, or you think Kyuubi Naruto is stronger because he's an actual fighter who can, utilize strategies with the actual chakra present rather than a wild animal. Regardless, I thought I'd tackle here that there's no real objective way to say which form is stronger than the other here. However, the bottom line, which I think we can draw, is that this Naruto's Tail Beast Bomb should be very comparable to the Rasen Shuriken. Now, obviously, the Rasen Shuriken fundamentally differs from the Tail Beast Bomb. It's more of like a needle attack on the Tenketsu or Chakra Network. It's just, it's like a buzzsaw. It's just fundamentally a very different technique. But in terms of raw power, I think you can make that distinction. But again, the Rasen Shuriken does have some differing characteristics that make it unique and just make it not all about power. So just thought I'd tackle this little bit before we get into the video, in case anybody was wondering. So 6 Tails Naruto, ridiculously strong, a lot of physical dexterity, arguably more durable than the 4 Tails Naruto that fought Orochimaru. I would probably say so. It would be weird to assume not, but for whatever reason. Overcomes the limitation that 4 Tails Naruto has. He's now a mobile gunner or can charge up the Tail Beast Bomb without just nuking himself. Should also be superior to Sage Mode Naruto off of his interaction with the Diva Path, as even after the Diva Path goes through this whole ordeal with 6 Tails Naruto, Nagato uses even more chakra against 6 Tails Naruto. He's still able to run out Sage Mode Naruto's timer, with Naruto Rasen Shuriken spamming being the only real way he can get an opening on the Diva Path, which is how he won in the original fight. So pretty strong, pretty strong. So rules for the video are: be able to defeat 6 Tails Naruto or prevent him from continuing to transform, as a prolonged fight will cause Naruto to enter higher stages of 9 Tails evolution. Starting off, we have Hidan. I mean, like, come on, man. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, I will say this. Sage Mode Naruto is already kind of said to be in a different league than everybody else in the Leaf Village, including Jonin, who should have relative strength to Asuma. So already looking at that, Asuma isn't coming out the greatest. Even if you said Hidan was more impressive off of Kakashi, again, I think Sage Mode Naruto on his own is much stronger than Kakashi. I think Kakashi's performance versus Pain, it's a good one, but the problem is his best feats or showing of relativity to Pain are when Pain is interrogating him at the start of the fight. After that, Kakashi literally chakra fatigued himself to try and take down the Diva and Asura Path. And on top of this, it's highly, highly unlikely that Hidan's basic scythe or weapons that he uses to form the ritual for Jashin would work on Naruto's hide, especially if you go off the Orochimaru example. There's just no way you could argue they'd be able to draw any blood from Six Tails Naruto. So there isn't really too much of a way for Hidan to take a W in this scenario. This is also being especially prudent because I'm inadvertently also comparing these Akatsuki members to the sick Orochimaru without his jutsu that fought Naruto. And it kind of depends, okay, do you think this Hidan would be able to perform those feats that Orochimaru did against that Naruto? I don't think so. I think it's not a good look, so we'll get on to the next matchup. I will say, though, side note for Hidan, I do think it kind of brings into question, right, due to how his win con is, how he actually defeated some of these Jinchuriki, especially Yugito. Like, I know Hidan and, you know, Kakuzu versus Yugito is off screen, but I do think it's kind of interesting, like, okay, if she's in her full tail beast state, how did he invoke his win con? Was he just that strong? Was he, like, bodying her around? Like, what kind of happened there? So I will say, like, even though I did kind of sleep on Hidan, maybe there's something he can do that we just haven't seen. I do think it is kind of interesting. Maybe the Hidan and Kakuzu combo just eventually tired out the Six Tails or, you know, whatever. But I do think it is kind of interesting to note. Next up, we have Kakuzu. Now, to be quite plain, Kakuzu's heart shouldn't be really that effective on Naruto. Again, you're going to notice a trend with a lot of these Akatsuki members in the fact that they really can't damage Naruto in this state, as this is a character who can tank the force of their own tail beast bomb. So I'm inadvertently kind of comparing a lot of these Akatsuki members to this Naruto's explosive power and seeing if they have something in their own arsenal to penetrate his hide. In Kakuzu's case, I'm going to start out by saying the hearts just don't offer too much, even with the lightning heart, which is arguably the strongest one or most potent one. By itself is obviously the hearts can combine to enhance their elemental power, but the lightning heart is pretty much equal to dual Kakashi's Raikiri. Now, the problem is, right, if you go off the idea that Six Tails Naruto is superior to Sage Mode Naruto, at least in the idea that, for example, his tail beast bomb would be more potent than Sage Mode Naruto's Rasengan, which I also do think is the case. I'm going to talk about this in a sec. Then the lightning heart would just have no way to damage Naruto, as we see that Naruto can essentially one-shot the Asura Path with the Rasengan. The same Asura Path was able to tank a Raikiri from Kakashi. Now, that's kind of a blanket statement because there is layers to this, such as Kakashi maybe arguably being more fatigued in the fight with Pain than he was against Kakuzu. However, I think they're at the very least comparable, as Kakashi, when he fights Kakuzu, does use at least one Raikiri before he actually blocks and uses two more. So, you know, I don't think one's leagues ahead of the other. It's pretty unquantifiable, but I do think the Asura Path is a decent metric since it could also tank Kakashi's lightning clone along with Choji slamming his fist on the Asura Path, and it was still able to get up and jump in front of Kakashi's Raikiri and not be totally pierced by it. And even then, there was still functionality to the Asura Path. So if you go off this, just Kakuzu's hearts just really don't have any measure. You'd have to argue some arbitrary combination between them, which again, I don't think puts them on the level of the Six Tails Beast Bomb. I would also suggest that Kakuzu himself shouldn't really be able to overwhelm the Six Tails, at least physically. He does have a really good case against the Two Tails, I will admit, you know, where he catches the paw. It's also a little arbitrary because you kind of have to compare the Two Tails to the Six Tails Naruto, which is just impossible to do, even if you go off the later War Arc stuff, because we know the Edo Jinchuriki are, not only are they amped via the Rinnegan and Sharingan, but they're pretty much perfect Jinchuriki due to how they're able to utilize their tail beast chakra perfectly in base. Kakuzu's diamond morph is kind of interesting to talk about because we don't know the exact upper limits of it, but if you go off the Raikiri stuff and how, you know, Raikiri has to be potent enough or show some relativity, even with the elemental advantage at play, you could maybe infer that Naruto would be able to just blow right past the diamond morph. It's a little vague, I will grant you. Kakuzu also does have the disadvantage compared to Naruto, who just has a proactive cloak. Whereas for the diamond morph, he pretty much loses the ability to move whatever body part he makes solid. So if he makes his whole body solid, he's not going to be able to jet around the battlefield. That's actually why he just makes his fist solid and just punches dudes. So you know, there is a little bit of questionable area there for Kakuzu, I will admit. However, because I do think this Naruto is so vastly above what Kakashi's Raikiri is, and that's arguably a weaker Kakashi than the one that fought Pain. Although, listen, I won't die on that hill. I don't think I can necessarily make the leap to give Kakuzu a confident W. And the problem is, right, even if I was super generous to Kakuzu and said, like, he could cancel out with this Naruto, that would just mean that Naruto would just continue to evolve until the full Nine Tails came out. He wouldn't really have a way to stop Naruto's evolution. So I don't think Kakuzu really has it in the bag for this. The Six Tails should be stronger than Sage Mode Naruto, who is stronger than a Kakashi, who was performing decent against Kakuzu. I will admit Kakuzu did kind of have him on a back foot during that fight. A lot of people don't want to give Kakuzu credit, but he does, you know, do well against Kakashi. But Kakashi wasn't so leagues behind him that he couldn't kind of compete with a bunch of his jutsu, techniques, or speed. So I also don't think Kakuzu gets a clear here. Next up, we have Sasori. Now, Sasori is rather interesting because, again, you know, I don't want to keep bringing up this durability point, right? But this is really what you have to ask yourself. Is he going to be able to breach Naruto's defenses to poison him and enact his win con? For those who don't know, I've said this before on the channel, I think Sasori poisons Jinchurikis and just gives them the antidote after because he knows of it. And it would be weird to assume he just wouldn't coat his weapons in poison to fight a Jinchuriki. I don't know. That always struck me as odd when people brought that up. But yeah, so you have to ask yourself, is he going to be able to do this against this Naruto? Well, with conventional puppets, like the third Kazekage's like regular arsenal in terms of blade and the Haruko puppet, no, obviously not. It's not going to damage this Naruto. That should be extremely clear. 100 puppets themselves are also all useless in this situation because, again, conventional weapons aren't really anything to this Naruto, and he can literally just nuke them long range with the puppets not really having the most impressive durability. The puppet that mainly has good durability is the one Sasori inhabits. The other ones just don't really exhibit that, in which case Sasori's pretty much best win con is Iron Sand, which I won't lie, we don't really have a definitive measure for how strong the Iron Sand is. Now, if you go off the Rasa Gaara stuff and say, you know, Iron Sand being stronger than those two, and I use stronger with air quotes, maybe defensively speaking, and there could be a way to interpret that as being able to bypass Naruto's cloak, especially if you want to go off some of the crazier stuff with Gaara blocking Amaterasu from Sasuke in the 5 Kage Summit. But even then, we know definitively right after that Sasuke boasts a greater defense. So it's like, what would Gaara scale to? Like the base Susanoo ribcage? And the reason I say the Iron Sand matters is because Sasori does coat the like pretty much each grain of Iron Sand in poison. So if he can actually damage Naruto or get like at least one grain on him, that's the fight. That's literally his GG win con. I might be inclined to say no because even Sasori's puppets that he made in the Hidden Sand Village, the mother and father puppet, they have chakra defenses that are able to block his Iron Sand Shower, for example. So we do kind of have like showings, and you know, there's no real way to quantify it again, but it'd be kind of weird to make that leap and say, you know, and I don't want to make an argument from incredulity or anything, just, you know, say something's like, just because something isn't, it seems unlikely, it isn't true. But again, it doesn't seem likely that a basic puppet with a basic chakra defense should be above the likes of Six Tails Naruto. Even when Sasori uses magnetism to shoot the Iron Sand out faster, Granny Chiyo is able to block it with the same type of chakra arm. Obviously, you know, we all know she pretty much tinkered with herself. She pretty much makes her arm puppet-like, and she's able to do the same chakra defense as the mother puppet. And we actually see that the mother puppet is also able to block the enhanced speed of Sasori's Iron Sand. So I don't necessarily see it having the highest like AP or jutsu potency to really breach this Naruto's defenses. On top of the fact he can play Sasori's game long range, he actually might just nuke the third Kazekage puppet. Even if you did give Sasori somewhat of a speed edge in this category, the fact that he may never be able to damage this Naruto, and Naruto's just going to be nuking the surrounding area, and Sasori's really going to have no way to stop this Naruto's evolution, is all you really need to say, in my opinion, to kind of lean towards Naruto's favor. So even if you go off like the lore stuff with Sasori and the Kazekage side of things, you know, the third being a difficult opponent, yada, 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 everybody, their mother, brother, cousin, son, father, brother, stepfather, their goldfish has heard this shit. Even if you went off all of that, pretty much just Sasori shouldn't have a way to damage this Naruto. Naruto has very easy kill options for the Sasori. He might not perform bad, but I just don't think he could stop this Naruto. Next up, we have Deidara. And I mean, you know, Deidara is cool. I like Deidara. Deidara's got a lot. But the problem with Deidara in this scenario is the exact same issue with his explosives almost not being powerful enough to damage this Naruto. Naruto having long-range Bijou bombs to combat this Deidara. Deidara cannot use C4 as, you know, Four Tails Naruto inhaling that would pretty much be, it's a GG, but their goal is to capture Naruto, so he obviously can't kill the Jinchuriki. He does have an impressive showing against the Three Tails, but again, it's a weird situation to where we just don't know how strong the lower Jinchuriki are in comparison to large portions of the Nine Tails chakra. Because of how much more vast and powerful the Nine Tails chakra is than the other Bijou, you could make a case for Naruto in lower versions of his evolution actually being somewhat of a rival or pseudo-rival to his complete Jinchuriki. Now, in terms of Deidara's explosives, they're very powerful, large scale. It's nothing this Naruto hasn't really seen or dealt with or been exposed to via his own Bijou bombs. He could play a ranged game with Deidara. He's very mobile relative to the Diva Path in terms of speed. Problem is, too, we have the likes of Curse Mark Stage 2 Sasuke actually surviving attacks from this Deidara too, which also doesn't help Deidara's case. Now, there could be a case for it, maybe, if you believe Heavy Sasuke is stronger than Four Tails Naruto. That same Sasuke goes through some months of training, absorbs Orochimaru, and then has a high maximum difficulty fight against Deidara. If you kind of look at that and take Orochimaru at his word that Sasuke is stronger than Three Tails Naruto, with Four Tails Naruto being more of a match, I could maybe see something. However, I think the Four Tails is a bit too big of a jump to make those inferences. We just, don't know how strong Sasuke is at the time. Sakura suffering from the Nine Tails poison. And that's something I want to bring up. You don't really see this because Orochimaru is like Orochimaru. He has body replacement or a rebirth. He doesn't really have to worry about certain things, and he has poison resistances. The Nine Tails chakra, like off getting slashed on it by alone, it is compared to poison. So that's also something a lot of these fighters have to deal with. They have to deal with the fact that physical strikes will go on to hinder them for the rest of the battle. And we actually saw this with Sakura, that she was struggling long term via just getting slashed once. So this isn't insignificant. And you don't really see it with Orochimaru because, like, he's Orochimaru. Like, nothing ever affects this dude. But even Orochimaru did concede that if he got hit by Four Tails Naruto's Bijou Bomb, he just wouldn't be able to regen past it. Now, obviously, that's Orochimaru without arms. He doesn't have all his jutsu. But I do think that is telling for a lot of these fighters that they're going to be getting hit with status ailments throughout the fight if they do take physical damage, or they just don't have the ability to take what Naruto's dishing out. So for Deidara, again, C1 and C2, I don't necessarily see it. Maybe if you argued Deidara prepped a C3 bomb that was going to blow up the hidden sand village, maybe, but again, you kind of have to quantify C3 versus that Naruto's Tail Beast Bombs, which I don't really think you can do. We just know that Gaara's defense wasn't even scratched from taking it. So there's a bit there, but this Naruto also should be pretty fine in taking Deidara's explosions. Again, Deidara also can't stop Naruto's evolution at this point, so it's just going to be pretty tough for him. If you did give Deidara the kill order, though, C4 should just honestly work fine on this Naruto. There's no reason, unless you argued like the Six Tails isn't inhaling air, that Naruto would have any type of resistance to this. So that is something to note for anybody who's a little tight at me. I'm sorry, it had to happen. But yeah, it's not that any of these Akatsuki members are weak. It's just that Six Tails Naruto is completely the wrong type of fighter and a different strength tier than what they're used to. Next up, we have Itachi. Now, honestly, for Itachi's case, there's one of two ways he wins this. There's one of two ways. He straight up has to Amaterasu Naruto, which should work because it works on the Eight Tails hide. It also, cuts through version 2 armor with the Raikage's lightning cloak. If you go off the anime canon, it also works on Yagura when he enters the version 2 cloak. So Amaterasu should be fine. There's nothing to suggest Naruto's cloak or anything like that would be able to resist it. And we do know the Amaterasu itself actually does eat chakra. We know from Naruto when he's like a perfect mastery over the Nine Tails chakra. You can just like slab Nine Tails chakra in front of his hand and like let the Amaterasu burn that. So it will burn the chakra that's on Naruto and just pretty much incinerate him, leading to Itachi just putting out the Amaterasu like he did against Sasuke. Now it's win condition number 1. It's relatively easy for Itachi. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't think he'd have too much problem with this Six Tails Naruto. Not because like he's so much stronger than Pain or anything like that, but because his jutsu's pretty explicitly a counter to pretty much the Bijou themselves. He might also be able to manipulate Naruto with this Mangekyo Sharingan. Now, this kind of goes off the idea that Mangekyo is capable of pretty much manipulating the full Nine Tails. The thing that throws me off from giving Itachi this win con is that there's actually a data book statement that says no one alive can control the Nine Tails. While Itachi is alive in the story, the data book entry takes place, which leads me to a couple things. It might be that Itachi's just due to blindness and being ill isn't capable of controlling the entirety of the full Nine Tails. It just might be that he's so nerd that he's not able to perform that type of feat. This is personally what I lean with, as it would be weird for Itachi just not to be able to control the Nine Tails, and for someone of Obito's caliber with like a somewhat relative visual prowess, he does respect Itachi's eyes a lot, to be able to just, control the Nine Tails with his base Sharingan. So it'd be really weird on that front. So it kind of depends how you go off that, but Amaterasu is pretty definitive, with Genjutsu also being a potential win condition for this Itachi as well. And for those arguing that Kurama's going to break Naruto out, he's taking over Naruto's body, like, at this point. So there's none of that. They're also not cool in this series. I say this 40 times, but even in Shippuden, he doesn't break Naruto out from Itachi's basic Genjutsu. So I cannot see why he would ever help him in any capacity. Next up, we have Kisame. Now, Kisame is honestly the right type of fighter to take on this Naruto, because this Naruto is the perfect fighter for Kisame. Now, the best way to approach this is pretty much arguing that the Six Tails Naruto that fights, if he fights Kisame, would have too much chakra for Kisame to absorb. But the off of the B as the version 2 hide, at least for base Kisame, is just way too much chakra, and the Six Tails version 2 hide should be much more chakra than the Eight Tails. Again, unquantifiable. There's no objective way to measure it. We just know that it's by some arbitrary amount more than the Eight Tails. The main outlying issue is, right, let's say this Naruto dashes at Kisame. Kisame performs a similar maneuver to what he did against B and blocks it, takes damage, and rips Naruto's hide off. Naruto is very different from B in the fact that Naruto doesn't really have cognitive thought when he's fighting in the Six Tails state. It's all kind of just off instinct. He's like a wild animal. Killer B is still able to fight like an actual shinobi. He's able to perform lariat. He's still able to think dialogue. He's a perfect Jinchuriki. Because of that, Naruto is going to be at an overwhelming disadvantage. And the issue is, right, it's not as if he's going to have more chakra prepped for him. So once Kisame actually does rip off his version 2 hide, and if you argue, okay, Naruto reverts back to version 1, the strength disparity is going to be too much right there and then, because Killer B already scales to like base and version 1 Killer B. So base Naruto and like version 1 through 3 Tails Naruto are not really going to be an issue for him. The Nine Tails is not going to prep more chakra like Killer B does. It's more of a gradual buildup as Naruto's hate increases. So the fact that he actually gets his cloaks ripped off would be just extremely detrimental to him, which also, again, I think makes Kisame just the wrong type of fighter for Naruto. And this isn't even talking about Fuse Samehada. Fuse Samehada would just, like, this would be on steroids. It would just be horrible for this Naruto. Fuse Samehada is able to just take away the version 2 cloak from Killer B. He's able to absorb that much chakra, whereas base Kisame can only absorb like one layer of the cloak at a time. There's a specific amount for the tails, but that's not really what matters here. Even if Naruto does start charging up Bijou bombs or a giant one, Kisame can flood the battlefield with water, but he also can do the great giant water shark bomb, the big one he did against 7th Gate Guy, which is, again, also moving at the same speed as 7th Gate Guy's attacks, which we don't need to talk about. Maybe you argue Guy's technique's a little slower. It's underwater. That's all fine. That technique would just hard counter Naruto's Tail Beast Bomb at that point, making it so a technique that would be stronger than what Six Tails Naruto could potentially tank would be thrown right back at him. So there is an issue there. But Kisame can essentially just drain the Nine Tails chakra continuously, kind of returning Naruto back to his base form and fatiguing him, kind of eliminating that ability for the Nine Tails evolution to continue. So Itachi and Kisame are kind of the perfect fighters for this, in the fact that they just hard countered these Jinchuriki or Six Tails Naruto in specific. If you really want to get into it too, maybe this Kisame could force Naruto underwater, but again, I don't think that's that crazy, because in the anime version, Six Tails is fighting underwater anyway. The battlefield gets flooded with water, so I don't see that being the make it or break it. It's more so just extreme chakra absorption to fatigue Naruto back to his base form, or just water shark bombing the Tail Beast Bomb over and over. Naruto at the end of the day will just be fueling Kisame for that W. Next up we have Konan. Now Konan's very interesting because her dance of the Shikigami, it seems on paper, I guess saw what I did there. On paper it should be a hard counter to Naruto in this state, but the reason I say this is because Konan's fighting style is that she essentially just uses her jutsu to kind of like fizzle through attacks, like Jiraiya hits her with fire style, and she's able to just fizzle away out of it, like she doesn't take any damage. It's only when she really gets hit with oil, which is a counter to a lot of techniques in the Naruto series, weirdly enough, that she's unable to, she's pretty much stuck together and unable to use her technique. The problem with this jutsu is that we don't know the upper limits of what Konan is able to phase through. And the reason this matters is because we might have a Suigetsu situation. So, for example, we see Suigetsu is able to liquefy through most things, yet is unable to completely liquefy after getting hit by a chakra-based attack like the Eight Tails. So, we have to ask ourselves, how is Konan going to really deal with this Naruto? And is she able to just going to be able to disperse herself through chakra-based attacks blowing up on her? That's the big question. I think it's a little too ambiguous to give Konan the slide in that regard. You could. I personally think it's just way too vague, and the series more so would imply otherwise. I personally think Konan's about that base Sannin tier, maybe a little stronger, and you know, Six Tails Naruto should be confidently above that. Four Tails being more of a rival to the Sannin, at least in base and in terms of like physical attributes. Not saying that Sage Mode Jiraiya would lose to Four Tails Naruto or anything like that. The other point for Konan is, are her explosives threatening to this Naruto? This is interesting because Konan really has one great showing with her explosives, aside from, you know, the 600 billion paper bomb feat. It is essentially when she's going to blow herself up with Obito, and she's actually able to pretty much blow Obito's arm off. Obito being the guy who, you know, can survive getting Rasengans planted on his back off of Minato. This is obviously essential because even with the one shot that was released, we do see Minato's Rasengans do have a great level of potency, able to, you know, somewhat suppress the Nine Tails chakra with a portion of his own. With Kushina's aid, of course, Minato's Rasengan also being a rival to the Rasen Shuriken in terms of power. If you made some lore implications, I think you could actually make a decent case for her explosives, like if she does that nuking technique, being somewhat effective against this Naruto. It's a little vague, but if you kind of have to connect some of Obito and Minato's showings to Konan. But again, we don't know if she's able to do that or if that was just her nuking herself with Obito, that she's really able to formulate that big of an explosion. As other times, it seems that it's more so just singular tags that she's able to form around the targets. But, you know, you could say maybe she was able to wrap Naruto up in paper. I think this Naruto would be a little too fast for that, personally speaking. I think he would have a pretty distinct speed edge on Konan, just because, you know, Konan is very relative to Jiraiya in their encounter. And this Naruto should be pretty definitively above at least base Jiraiya, like no duh. So there is something there. I actually think Konan's a bit underrated, and there is some debatable room in this discussion, honestly speaking. I would probably lean towards no for Konan, just because, again, the upper limits for her explosives and how she would play in this scenario are unknown, in my opinion. There are some potential, you know, leaps you can make, on top of the fact that we don't have an exact measure for what she can really phase to with her dance of the Shikigami, and how that wouldn't necessarily fare against chakra based attacks. In my opinion, just based off what we've seen, I don't think she'd be able to just survive till beast bombs blowing up on her. It just doesn't seem consistent. So I would say Six Tails Naruto, but there are arguments to be made for Konan. She is kind of slept on in terms of the Akatsuki, barring the prep that she does on Obito. If you think she's garbage and just like base Sannin tier, gets slaughtered by Jiraiya, then, you know, throw out everything I just said and say she gets slammed. Pretty much, there you go. Next up, we have Taka Sasuke, and I think, you know, ironically, I think Taka Sasuke could win via Amaterasu, but in character, he wouldn't lead with that. Just like the B fight, and I think he would get absolutely scraped, honestly speaking. I think he'd get his chest caved in. I think this Naruto would literally just slash him, and it'd be a similar thing to the Killer B fight. There isn't really anything to suggest. Sasuke just isn't that used to his Mangekyo at this point. Nor in character is he really willing to use it at the start of the fight. Even after he died multiple times to Killer B, he didn't use it till he was absolutely pressed, and his old squad reminded him of Team 7. So I think Sasuke could actually win with Amaterasu. But I don't think the fight would get to that point, and I think Naruto would take him down pretty quick, pretty heavy, pretty definitively. Last up, we have Obito. I mean, Obito just grabs Naruto, throws him in the BFR dimension. If his arm was poisoned, he'd break it off and get a new Zetsu one. I think this one's pretty clear cut. I don't think any more crazy discussion necessarily has to be had on Obito. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. And obviously Pain, you know, we saw that, so I don't really need to talk about that. So that's the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I sure did. I thought it was interesting. This dude, Six Tails Naruto, kind of is coming around claiming up the Akatsuki's cheeks. It just is what it is. That's the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, like and subscribe, you know all that good stuff. Bye-bye.